And now call upon Mr. Alok Goel, who is a very young age when he donned the people's hat and was well awarded of the tricks of the trade. Primary among them are the unconventional and unapologetic life choices. Mr. Alok has been there, done that over a lifetime. He has emerged as victorious because of his immaculate action idol persona. Be it with Red Bus or Free Charge, this luminary has always experimented without being ambivalent. He's fresh and hungry to do more. Journey has been nothing short of a stellar, lighting up the lives in some unconventional and pragmatic ways. Mr. Goel, who has been part of the biggest acquisitions in the history of the internet industry in India, built entire team from scratch in Redbus and redesigned company strategy at early Series A round. Transitioned the company from desktop to mobile only with world-class mobile products. Established Free Charge as a household name and a company known for innovation. Grew enterprise value by more than 30x and executed India's largest M&A in Indian interest space and acquisition of Free Charge by Snapdeal. He was the Chief Operating Officer of Redbus and Product Management at Google. So please put your hands together in welcoming Mr. Alok Goel. Over to you, sir.
So Amit actually asked me to talk a little bit about how we went about building brand for Redbus and Free Charge. I'll try to be super crisp and very, very compressed in terms of the time instead of taking too long. So when it comes to brand, I don't have any specific background in terms of building, sort of learning, studying brands and those kind of things. So, but typically the way it happens in the internet-based companies is you get exposed to a problem that has not been solved by you, so you have to figure out by the first principles, learn it on the job, and sort of solve the problem. And that is exactly what happened when I joined Redbus, and it was a very early stage company, and we were starting to think about what is the brand of Redbus. At that point of time, I started talking to a lot of people, trying to understand what is a brand. So the first question that I wanted to understand was, what is brand? Is brand the advertising? Is brand what you see on TV? Somebody endorsing your brand, somebody saying something. And what I sort of discovered later on was, brand is not what is being talked about in TV. Brand is not about advertising. Brand is about the adjectives that can be described, that can basically describe you. So the best way to understand brand is if you ask somebody to close the eyes and just imagine a person and say the adjectives which you will describe to explain the person of that brand. So if Redbus were to be a person, how will that person look like? How will that person behave? What will that person do? What will that person speak? How will that person speak? Were all the brand characteristics of a brand. And that's how we started thinking about it. So instead of just going straight away to the advertising part, we started creating the brand persona. And then came the second biggest sort of realization in the branding industry, which is what I call as difference between the candy brand versus a technology brand. And I'll explain a little bit more about this, what I mean by this. I've always been amazed by those small 50 paisa candy or 1 rupee candy and how those people go about creating brands. Suddenly one fine day you'll start seeing amazing amount of TV blasts and amazing amount of BTL activities, radio ads and all of these kind of things, encouraging kids to buy that 50 paisa brand. And it is amazing to see how the unit economics works for those products, because a 50 paisa toffee is having some cost, some manufacturing cost, some distribution cost, some packaging cost, etc. And even then they're able to spend like 20 crores on the TV ad. So they must be selling like tens of crores of those toffees to even recover that TV ad cost. And what happens in those cases is that basically a brand is built before the product is experienced. And that's what I call as a candy brand. You first see the brand, you first see Sachin Tendulkar advertising about Boost. So you feel that if I eat or drink Boost, I'll be a sportsman like Sachin Tendulkar. You see Katrina Kaif advertising about a beauty product. So you feel that I'll be as beautiful as she is if I use this beauty product. You basically start attaching the persona of that brand, of the person who is endorsing that brand with that product itself. And then you start having a desire to own that product. And that's how the brand is created first, and then you go and experience the product, and then basically the brand is sort of already built before the product is consumed. But in the technology world, like Amit was talking about, basically, in my view, product is consumed before the brand is actually created. And it is that product which has to first establish the brand identity. So the first question is, how can a product speak? What should be the style in which the product behaves? What are the functionalities that you build for the consumer? Are basically what goes at the essence of building the brand for your technology product. It is not similar to how you will build a brand for a clothing line, or how you will build a brand for a purse, or how you will build a brand for a toffee or candy, those kind of things. So in that sense, it is very, very important to understand what will be missing out of the customer's life if this product just disappears overnight, magically. And that question helps you understand what is the need that we are fulfilling in terms of the consumer's life, what is the need that my product is fulfilling, and then you decide how you are going to be fulfilling that need. In Redbus, what we realized was that even though we were a bus ticketing company, but we never treated ourselves as a bus ticketing company. We always treated ourselves as a friend of the bus traveler. And why we thought about that way was because when we used to go to the bus stops, when we used to go for the bus travel journey, and throughout the night we'll keep chatting with all the co-passengers in that bus and just not let them sleep to get the insights, the real consumer insights. The biggest thing which will come out is that a bus traveler's journey in India is extremely difficult. It is difficult to find out which shop you should stand to board the bus. It is difficult to know which place the bus is going to stop for the dinner. It is very difficult to know whether there is going to be a female friendly toilets on the way or not. So if it is a 10-hour long journey, it is very difficult for females to travel in a bus. It is very difficult to know whether the bus is going to be very cold and I'll be given a blanket or not. These are some of the very hard questions that a customer needs to go through the bus journey. So the choice in front of us was, should we sell the bus tickets, or we should help solve this unpredictability of the bus journey in the consumer's life? And we actually chose the latter. We started building all the product features to just solve this unpredictability into the consumer's life. We built products to collect all of this data in a UGC way. Amit was talking about the Wikipedia. So we built the Wikipedia sort of a product for the bus journey for the consumers. So consumers will share all the insights about the bus journey, and those insights will be shown to the following passengers who are trying to book the bus tickets. We will show the ratings. This bus is a bad quality rating. This will never reach on time. Don't go in this bus. Go in this bus. So in this way, we started making consumers take good decisions, take informed choices. And we never thought about actually selling the tickets. We always thought about how do we solve that pain point. And guess what? What started happening was when we are actually genuinely making a consumer make a good decision, they'll invariably end up buying the bus ticket from us as well. So our real business was not in the business of selling the bus tickets. Our real business was in the form of building this Wikipedia, in the form of building this rating system, in the form of building a product by which consumer can make an informed choice for the bus. And by the way, we used to sell the bus tickets. And that used to make us money. But a real product was really this. And that actually started creating a good brand persona for the customers because they started having amazing amount of trust on this brand. So when we were going ahead with the TV advertising for our always been conveying our product persona in certain way to the consumers, and that was very consistently perceived by consumers. There was no dissonance in the way we were behaving as a product and what we were communicating through our TV ad campaign at a later point of time. So our brand was already built, and then came the TV ad campaign, which actually created more of the awareness than creating the brand. But brand actually inherently came from the product itself. In a very similar manner, we made another interesting realization there also. There's a big question of when do you start going and shouting in the market in your company life cycle or in your product life cycle. And it's a very tricky question because when you're going into the market and shouting about your product, you are shouting about certain benefits or certain promises that your product makes to the consumer. And when a consumer actually tries the product out and it does not meet through those promises, then comes a dissatisfaction in a customer's mind. And that dissatisfaction is actually very difficult to overcome at a later point of time. So even if your product improves in quality at a later point of time, you can't win back those customers. So the point of time when you start shouting in the market for creating the brand or conveying the brand to the customers is a very critical decision, because you actually should build the product first, make sure that whatever is the promise that you're going to be making as part of your campaign is actually going to be fulfilled by your product. And hence you have to build the product long enough, but at the same time you should not keep waiting before you shout in the market, because by that means you will basically lose the opportunity and somebody else will come into the market and actually just take over the entire opportunity. So it's a very, very tricky decision as to when you go out into the market and shout. And we were quite lucky that we could actually time it very, very well in Freecharge, and it's more of a matter of luck that we ended up doing it the right timing than we being genius in any way. Because what we actually did was, for first 6 months, we just kept building our product. We did not talk about anything in the market. We were not aggressive in media in any way, in any form. We just kept building our product. And at some point of time, in like 6 months down the journey, we realized that our product is now best in the industry. It meets all the brand personas by which our product can be described by the consumers. It's the best in the industry. And then we started shouting about it. And when we started shouting about it, we actually shouted at very, very loud pitch. And when the pitch was super loud and the product actually met the promise that was being made as part of that pitch, it actually received amazing amount of reception from the customers. And that's how the product actually started picking up very well, and the brand started getting established. So these were just some of the learnings that we have had in very hard ways in building the two brands that I've been associated with in the last few years. Happy to take any questions. I believe there is a session that is going to happen right after this as a joint session for questions.